Karen sank my Navy patrol boat in spite, so I used it to uncover $3 million in HOA fraud. What would you do if a petty grievance escalated into a deliberate act of destruction, threatening not just your livelihood, but exposing a far darker secret? The salty air off the coast of Heron Bay usually brought me peace. As a retired Navy patrol boat captain, my life's new mission was operating a small, ecotourism business. My pride and joy was the Ocean Guardian, a decommissioned but meticulously restored Navy patrol boat. She was my livelihood, my passion, and the vessel I used to take tourists on educational wildlife tours of the bay. My morning ritual involved a final check of the mooring lines, the rising sun glinting off her sleek, gray hull. Then, Karen arrived, not with a whimper, but with a screech of tires and a self-important stride. Karen Albright, the newly elected, aggressively proactive president of the Heron Bay Waterfront Homeowners Association. She approached my dock, impeccably dressed in a linen suit, a pair of oversized sunglasses obscuring eyes I already suspected held a cold glint. "Mr. Miller," she declared, her voice sharp enough to cut the morning fog. "We have received numerous complaints regarding your vessel. It's an eyesore. It obstructs the view from luxury condominiums, and frankly, its military aesthetic is quite unsettling for our residents seeking tranquility. The HOA board, under my leadership, has voted to demand its immediate removal from these waters." The main conflict, stark and immediate, was laid bare. Karen, wielding the HOA's power like a personal weapon, was targeting my boat, my business, my entire post-Navy existence. Her demands were not just unreasonable. They were rooted in a superficial disdain for anything that didn't fit her narrow, privileged vision of luxury. Her attitude reeked of elitism, a self-appointed queen dictating what was acceptable in her domain. "Unsettling," she'd said, as if a symbol of national service was an affront to her delicate sensibilities. I tried to reason with her, explaining the boat's historical significance, its role in educating tourists about marine conservation, and its very real economic contribution to the small town. "Ms. Albright, this boat has been here for years, well before most of these condos were built. It's fully licensed, insured, and operates legally. It's also a piece of local history, and my business supports several families in this community." Karen, however, merely waved a dismissive hand, as though swatting away a bothersome fly. "History is for museums, Mr. Miller, not prime waterfront real estate. And as for your economic contribution, I assure you, the increased property values from our refined aesthetic will far outweigh any quaint little boat tours. You have 72 hours. Move it, or face escalating fines and legal action." Her contempt was palpable, her refusal to acknowledge any perspective beyond her own, absolute. I spent the next 2 days exploring every legal avenue, every bylaw, every compromise. I even offered to move to a less visible mooring, a significant inconvenience to my business. Karen rejected every proposal, escalating her threats. She'd send increasingly aggressive emails, even harassing my clients with baseless accusations of noise violations. Then, her pettiness turned destructive. Early one morning, under the cover of a dense fog, Karen herself, with an accomplice, covertly approached my moored patrol boat. They weren't just vandalizing it. They were meticulously opening seacocks and drilling small, strategic holes below the waterline, all designed to slowly, deliberately, sink the vessel. By the time I arrived at dawn, my heart plummeted. The Ocean Guardian was listing heavily, water pouring into her engine room. She was going down. It was an act of pure, unadulterated malice, an attempt to destroy my livelihood and crush my spirit. As I watched my beloved boat succumb to the bay's cold embrace, a small, yet crucial twist emerged. A homeless veteran, Sarge Johnson, who often slept discreetly near the docks, emerged from the fog. Sarge had a reputation for being a bit eccentric, but also incredibly observant. He approached me, eyes wide. "Captain Miller." I saw them. A woman, blonde, in a dark coat, and a younger guy. "They were messing with your boat." I didn't think much of it until I heard the gurgling. I got a little video on my old phone, barely charged, but I got her face. His shaky, pixelated video, shot on a worn-out flip phone, was just clear enough to show Karen Albright, her face grimly determined, drilling into the hull. The date and time stamp, though blurry, matched. The larger consequence of Karen's actions began to unfurl. My Ocean Guardian wasn't just a tourist boat. She was slated to be the lead vessel for an upcoming coastal cleanup initiative, a major, federally funded project aimed at removing derelict fishing gear and marine debris from sensitive areas of the bay. My boat's unique capabilities, including its powerful winch and shallow draft, made it ideal for the task. Her sinking meant the entire initiative was in jeopardy, potentially impacting millions in federal grants and delaying crucial environmental protection efforts for the entire region. Her petty vendetta now threatened a significant public good, transforming my personal grievance into a matter of profound civic concern. Armed with Sarge's video and the knowledge of the impending environmental crisis, I confronted Karen at the next HOA board meeting. She was in mid-sentence, pontificating about maintaining property values, when I walked in, carrying Sarge's phone. "Karen," I stated, my voice cutting through her monologue, "you didn't just want my boat gone. You deliberately sank it." I projected Sarge's grainy video onto the large screen. The room erupted in gasps. Karen, initially, scoffed. "That's ridiculous. A pathetic smear. That old man is a known vagrant. His evidence is worthless. This is harassment." She tried to play the victim, her face a mask of furious indignation, but the raw footage of her drilling into the hull was undeniable. Just as she started berating the bewildered board members, the doors to the meeting hall burst open. In walked not just Chief Davies of the Heron Bay Police, but also an agent from the Environmental Protection Agency, EPA, and a sharply dressed lawyer. The lawyer spoke first, her voice ringing with authority. "Ms. Albright, my firm represents the federal government's Coastal Cleanup Initiative. Your deliberate destruction of a key asset for a federally funded program constitutes a federal offense, potentially involving charges of obstruction and felony property damage. We also have concerns regarding widespread environmental violations within this HOA." The EPA agent stepped forward. "We've been investigating reports of illegal dumping and unpermitted construction within the Heron Bay HOA's jurisdiction for several months. Your HOA's recent beautification projects, particularly the dredging of the South Channel and the fill used for the new Vista Points, are suspected of violating numerous federal environmental protections. And Ms. Albright, your name has come up repeatedly in our inquiries." Karen's face, once composed, contorted into a mask of pure, unadulterated horror. Her eyes darted wildly around the room, realizing she was trapped. The facade of the powerful HOA president crumbled. A low murmur went through the room as an HOA board member, who looked utterly terrified, whispered to Chief Davies, She made us approve expenses without receipts. Millions. For these environmental projects." The truth started to leak out. Karen wasn't just obsessed with aesthetics. She was embezzling HOA funds, diverting millions meant for legitimate community improvements into her own pockets through inflated contracts with shell companies linked to her family. The beautification was a smokescreen for $3 million in HOA fraud. Her past was also riddled with similar, smaller schemes in other coastal communities, always involving a combination of aggressive rule enforcement and suspicious infrastructure projects. She was a career con artist, not just a petty tyrant. The consequences for Karen Albright were swift and devastating. She was immediately arrested on federal charges related to the sinking of my boat, obstruction of a federal program, and then, as the full extent of the fraud came to light, for massive embezzlement and environmental crimes. The HOA board, in shambles, was dissolved, and an interim management team was put in place while a full audit exposed the multi-million-dollar theft. The luxury condos she so meticulously protected plummeted in value as the scandal unfolded. Her carefully cultivated image as a community leader vanished, replaced by headlines screaming of fraud and environmental destruction. Her social circles, once so eager to bask in her reflected influence, publicly disavowed her. Her assets were frozen, her designer clothes and luxury cars liquidated to pay restitution. She lost everything: her freedom, her fortune, and her reputation. The ultimate irony was that her act of petty malice sinking my boat was the very thing that led to her catastrophic downfall, shining a spotlight on the darkness she desperately tried to conceal. As for my Ocean Guardian, She was eventually salvaged, repaired with federal aid from the very cleanup initiative Karen had tried to derail, and put back into service, now a symbol of resilience and justice. Watching Karen's public humiliation and subsequent conviction brought a profound sense of satisfaction, a validation that even the most powerful bullies can be brought down. But it also left a lingering question. How many others, driven by greed and control, operate undetected until a single, petty act unravels their carefully constructed lies? What do you think? Was Karen's downfall a classic example of karma, or did the scale of her punishment seem disproportionate to her initial, petty act of spite, even considering the larger fraud?